Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Red-Rupee here calling the shots for you tonight. As always, we've got some more DoW2 Elite Mod action here for you on Calderis Refinery. Of course, we can't seem to escape this wretched wasteland, but here we are, the War Boss being played by Men of Faith on the red side, of course known as Texanius. And then bring in the Ordo Malleus, those shenanigans you'd love to hate. You folks were asking about him on my last stream, so I found a game with him, none other than Cyris as the brother captain, representing that blue side. And we haven't had the Ordo Malleus on here for quite some time, so it'll be interesting to see what he brings to the table. Tex doing the standard double shooter builds, getting that power, sending the War Boss forward into this contested node, maybe hoping to find himself some stormtroopers or something like that. Not going to be so fortunate, gonna be facing off against the brother captain there if Cyris so chooses to move forward up to that contested point. A second squad of inquisitorial stormtroopers hitting the field behind the initial strike squad for Mr. Cyris as he heads into the center. Node going down for Tex. Sluggas moving in. Looks like Tex is going to be able to get both of those contested points in the center of the map, at least for the time being. But I'm sure once the Grey Knights gather up here, I'm not sure, is it still Grey Knights, or are we just calling them Ordo Malleus now? I don't know. Ordo Malleus, that's the words. Anyways, inquisitorial stormtroopers putting down that burst fire. They can kite around so quick, their rate of fire is like super crazy quick burst. And then they can kind of move around and kite you around. A real pain, so those sluggers are going to get forced back, no problem. Let's see, there is a power node going up, so Tex is kind of trying to deny and buy some time over here. Meanwhile, Shooter Boys facing off. The War Boss on the back line just trying to decap. I guess he doesn't want to fight head on with the War Boss right now. I'm not sure what the plan is here, but that kind of leaves these Shooter Boys stranded on their own. There's no way they can deal with this brother captain and his strike squad for the time being, so it looks like they're just going to have to fall back. Didn't lose any models, fortunately enough, so did manage to get out of that relatively unscathed. War Boss getting the decap on that natural victory point way on the back, and Cyris is just going to let it happen. No big deal there. Another power node going down on this side, and that's 3 power nodes he's dropped now. So that's a lot of requisition that he might ultimately just be throwing away here, when he could be getting another squad on the field. Inquisitorial operatives going down, and Tex is just continuing to buy his time with that War Boss, but losing most of the map, now not sitting on a single requisition point, and after spending that requisition on that power, I'm not sure that's a wise investment. He's got big shooters on the field for those Shooter Boys. Definitely want the increased damage and rage on those guys, because it really helps burn down these stormtroopers, which can be a real menace against these squishier orc squads if you're not careful. Oh, getting the custom shooter on the War Boss too, which we don't often see. Another tool for dealing with these nice squishy infantry that we're seeing from the Ordo Malleus recently. These inquisitorial operatives are pretty notorious for being a thorn in the side of just about any force. So with the custom shooter and those big shooters, they won't really be able to kite around nearly as effectively. War Boss trying to contend with that strike squad, misses the stomp, however, and the brother captain's just going to continue haranguing that War Boss. And Sluggas just kind of roaming around looking for trouble. Still not a lot on the field for Man of Faith here. Tex just with the double Shooter Boys, getting a good drop on those stormtroopers, taking up a couple models pretty quickly. They can't really kite around nearly as effectively with that custom shooter. Unlocking that, what is that? That's not the full auto ability. Is shoot 'em good. That's the one. Stunning that brother captain, allowing those big shooters to really get some damage down on him. War Boss playing a dangerous game, wants to try to finish off that brother captain, but can't quite manage to do it. However, he's pretty low. Some shooters are starting to go down here, but with 36 HP, it looks like they have no choice but to fall back. Sluggas got routed by operatives along the stormtroopers in the center of the map, and it's 413 to 496. Let's see, what are the gen farms? Full gen farm on this side, still nothing down for Tex. Getting a second squad of Slugga Boys now. So it's going to be 4 squads on the field. Oh man, and a Purgations. This is a pretty big tier 1. I don't know if this is standard for Ordo Malleus right now or not, but I guess Cyris has recognized. He saw 2 nodes go up. He's seen the orcs bleeding a bit. He saw upgrades down, the big shooters, the flamers, and that custom shooter, so he knows he doesn't really have to rush into tier 2. So grab that Purgation Squad and start pressuring some power. So far, it's been a pretty rough start for Tex, all things considered. He's managed to hold pretty much his own power, and that's about it. The map is primarily blue for the time being, and everything is now moving in on this gen farm, which he just finally bought a gen for. Big Shoot's opening up, exchanging shots with that strike squad, with the War Boss charging in on ahead as well. There's a lot of ranged firepower here, though. He has to be very careful. These shooters do maintain a lot of their DPS, even after losing a couple models, though. So we can see Strike Squad getting in a lot of trouble. 2 models going down, might actually lose a third. The War Boss finishes it off with a swift drop of that Chain Axe right on his back. Slugger boys do get stunned, but it looks like this might be a nice full rout, and this is exactly what Tex needed to get back into this game. Eliminating that Strike Squad right there was pretty huge, and now Sluggers with Flamers way back on Cyris' side of the map. That second squad of Sluggers I don't think he was expecting. He hadn't seen it quite yet. Warboss getting obliterated in the blink of an eye with the help of those Inquisitorial shotguns. Brother Captain does have to fall back, but now it's only 2 injured squads of shooter boys hanging out against all this ranged DPS. Let's see what's happening on over here. Slugger boys did take out a couple of those gens. Will be able to burn down that entire gen farm by the looks of it. Brother Captain narrowly escaping death there on the battlefield. And 2 squads of Inquisitorial Stormtroopers now moving in on these Sluggers. About to get flanked, but I think these Sluggers just have to fall back. They're about to get stuck between a lot of different sources of ranged firepower, and it's just gonna cause Tex some hurt if he starts bleeding even more. Oh, maybe I spoke too soon. He's really sticking it out here. He routed 1 squad, now leaving the other trapped in enemy territory between all these Sluggers. Oh no, they're so bad at finishing off models on retreat without that Slugger knob. They do fall back. He killed quite a few Stormtroopers there, though, so not all is lost. That said, Cyris rather is heading well into tier 2, and Tex isn't even close. He's gonna be still about another minute before he can even hit that button. Shoot him good, slowing down those retreating Inquisitors. Operatives having no choice but to retreat after getting shot good. Cyris still with so much requisition, though, he can pretty easily rebuild that gen farm if he so chooses. Little bug there on the Brother Captain. He's not actually stunned. I think the shoot him a good ability is leaving that stun effect on units, unfortunately. So just ignore that. Warboss now moving in to get that decap, 413 to 330 as we head into the tier 2 portion of this game. The Librarian coming onto the field, the first purchase for Cyris. Not going for a vehicle or anything like that, which I guess considering he doesn't have power is a wise choice. If he had the gens up, if Tex hadn't got that gen bash right there, we'd probably be seeing a Dread on the field in no time. Probably not much later than this Librarian would have hit, so the combination of taking out those strike squads and then getting that gen bash is about what's keeping Tex in the game now after that rough start. That being said, oh man, those Sluggers still looking to burn some power. Warboss getting routed, but everywhere else is just orcs, orcs, orcs all over the map. Just marauding around, capping points wherever they can, keeping some pressure on the back line here with these Slugger boys that are just continuously preventing Cyris from moving forward on the map if he so otherwise chose. Brother Captain facing off against dual shooter boys, not quite gonna be enough though to tank through all this ranged DPS. Now we're seeing knobs come down for these shooters as well. Terminator Librarian now moving in, forcing off those Sluggers with the help of all those Stormtroopers and Operatives. And let's see, Flamers on both squads of Sluggers, double shooters. Tex finally hitting tier 2. Luckily bought himself some time to get back into that and prevented that early Dreadnought from hitting, which would have been certain doom, I'm sure, because, I mean, if that Dreadnought had been on the field for as long as this Librarian had been, there would have pretty much been no recourse at all. But now Tex is only 100 victory points behind, and I think the game is still certainly within his grasp, although the Ordo Malleus is giving no opportunities to get back into this if they can help it, because they're just capping everything. They're keeping Tex on the back foot of requisition wherever they can. Librarian now coming in here trying to hack up that Warboss even knocking him back with that that ability. I'm not sure why Tex keeps moving in on that. He can't actually walk through that when that bubbles up. Librarian getting perilously low there from... Oh, wait. Hold on. Oh, man. There's Sluggers with a Sluganob there. As the front line still battles between these shooters and Sluggers. Oh, man. Let's see. Are they going to be able to finish off the Librarian? That could be another big win for Tex. Tex finishes off the Librarian on retreat. Might even be able to get a couple operatives as well. One model goes down. It looks like that's going to be all they can get. Purgation Squad still looking for some power to burn down, but they're not going to get it with those Slugger boys in hot pursuit. Speaking of hot, those blue flames come down, slowing down the approaching Sluggers, but they're still going to have to get on out of there. Maybe just trying to get some damage down for the next engagement, keeping those Sluggers at about 2/3 health for the upcoming engagement. The Inquisitorial Stormtroopers pouring out a little bit of fire, hitting that tier 2 mark, or level 2 as it were, taking out a couple Slugger models as Tex desperately tries to capture these points, recognizing that he's 200 points down and probably needs to sacrifice a couple of models here and there to get those caps to keep himself in the game.
We shall make it so.
Dreadnought finally hitting the field for Cyris. He does have that gen farm completely rebuilt. And the contested power nodes have been changing hands a little bit, but they've primarily been in the hands of Cyris. So even with that gen farm down initially, he was still getting more residual power at the moment. But Tex now in tier 2, what's he holding out for? I'm not sure what he wants to get at this stage. Probably doesn't want to get a Death Tread or something like that. If he expects the vehicle, I'm sure we'll be seeing tank busters or something along those lines. But so far, no real tier 2 purchases. Does have the Ballast Pole, has knobs on all his shooter boys and Sluggers. But there's the Dreadnought, he spots it. And now, yeah, immediately purchases the tank busters upon spotting that big, nasty melee walker. Looks like he's just actually going to use the War Boss to try to tie it up in melee, but that was all for naught as, oh man, even knocking that head shooter boy off of the point. Purgation Squad does get routed, and it looks like they're just going to try to kite around that Dreadnought. The Grey Knight Dreadnought does some pretty reasonable range DPS, but you can kind of maneuver around it. It doesn't do AoE, it doesn't have any big abilities that you really have to be concerned with, so if you can just kind of kite around and disrupt around that. Notice, I feel like a lot of people would have seen that Dreadnought, recognized they had no AV, and then immediately retreated, but Tex kind of made the best of a bad situation. Got the War Boss in there, routed a squad, even took out a Purgation Squad model, and bought a little bit of time to keep his opponent from just taking the map instantaneously with the approach of that Dreadnought. Slugger boys with that big old knob over here looking for some trouble, and Inquisitorial operatives are what they're gonna find. But just a couple little skirmishes all around. It looks like Cyris is just choosing to kind of fall back. Doesn't want to engage one-on-one at this point. All these orc squads actually getting pretty beefy in tier 2 with their knobs and upgrades. So it looks like he's just gonna gather his forces, muster up, and head for the gen farm once again. Tex, let's see, Tex. Oh, is Tex going for tier 3 at this point? Yes, he is. As soon as he's available, he hits that tier 3 button right in the heat of battle as well. A lot of folks, once there's an engagement going on, kind of tend to forget to hit those upgrades or purchase those squads until things are quiet. But Tex, of course, not one to drop micro. He was watching those resources intently. So, let's see. Tier 3 with 50 power a minute. I mean, he's going to be able to get, so long as he can build up some requisition, he's going to be able to get himself a looted tank on the field pretty quickly, which is what I would expect to see concerning this Dreadnought's out here. I'd expect to see a looted tank and all this range damage. Knobs would be not terrible, but I think the looted tank is where you want to go. Pretty much everything on the field for the Grey Knights right now is anti-infantry damage, so Slugger boys heading home with that single knob. Often is the case. Heading back without any boys. He just rounds up a whole nother pile once he gets back. Warball's taking a lot of fire right now, but trying to focus down that brother captain. Both heroes might be going down here. It's a double kill. Both sitting there in the middle of the Calderos Refinery battlefield. Tex keeping that constant pressure on. That's the thing with these double slugger, double shooter build, is that there's pretty much always going to be a full army to fight in addition to a squad of sluggers somewhere on the map being a nuisance and capping. Oh, that's barrage is going down right on top of those guys. Takes out 3 models. Dreadnought does get down there and starts meleeing away on top of those tank busters, but they do have to fall back. Let's see what Tex is looking at. About 300 requisition. Pretty much doesn't want to reinforce any of these until he can get that tank in queue, if that's what he's going for. Slugga's now still holding strong on the front line there, just keeping everything back for the time being. 368 to 154. Tex still on the back foot of victory points, but we'll see. Cyris heading into tier 3 now did have the requisition to repurchase his brother captain, whereas Tex unfortunately does not. He's been bleeding quite a bit more. But he's got that looted tank coming out, and that's going to be a pretty strong swing, in my opinion. Cyris, I think, has to recognize that there hasn't been any tier 2 squads, with the exception of these tank busters, which are relatively cheap. So he's got to know that Tex is sitting on some tier 3 tech here shortly.
Stormtroopers reporting ready.
All is quiet with both sides. Cyris, let's see, heading into tier 3, what can he do with that? He's got his reasonable power income, but he doesn't have a big pile of requisition at the moment. His only counter for that looted tank is going to be upgrading these purgation squads with psi cannons. Of course, he can upgrade his dreadnought as well, but that dreadnought's really not even going to be approached with the threat of both the tank busters and that tank cannon on the field. So let's see, where's that looted tank? I'm not sure he's spotted it yet. Is Tex trying to keep it out of sight until that dreadnought maybe pushes forward a little bit? Nope, he's bringing it on up. He knows with only 136 points remaining, he has to start taking some victory points. Wants to pressure that purgation squad nice and early, I think, so he can force that off before the psi cannons come online. Slugger Boy's getting tossed all over the place, and now the dreadnought's just trying to charge in after that tank. Slugga's still looking pretty rough. They are going to have to fall back ultimately, but this dreadnought's in a bit of trouble as well, considering, oh no, is the Slugga squad going to go down? 3, 2, 1, there it goes. After losing shooters and now a Slugga squad as well. Has to be very careful how he chooses to play these next couple engagements. It could get dire very quickly after losing those orc squads. This tank is largely uncontested for the time being, but that's going to change shortly, I'm sure. And losing that Slugga squad at this stage was pretty rough. Still hasn't even managed to get his war boss back onto the field, but I guess it's just not really bringing that much to the table. Inquisitorial operatives dropping that stun grenade on that tank. I'm not sure what the cooldown on that is, but he may have wanted to hold on to that until he can get those psi cannons in position to maybe finish that thing off. But I guess recognizing that there's only one Slugga squad back on the field now, it's going to be a little trickier for Tex to both put pressure on capping the map and keeping that tank healthy, since only the Sluggers are the ones able to repair that tank. Cyris, though, coming up on some pretty serious power and requisition, has plenty of red. He could be calling in some Terminators here before long. Tex does have a second looted tank coming onto the field, and if I remember correctly, tanks are kind of the thing that Ordo Malleus has the most trouble with contending with. So we'll see how that plays out as this progresses, but I think Tex really just needs another squad or two on the map. As it stands right now, he's just trying to kind of even up the score. He's about 300 points down, but if he can make a strong hold here for the next fight or two, it can really be pretty much an even up match. Asking about Call the Boys. Did Call the Boys change again? I feel like it's been the same for a while, but maybe it hasn't. I mean, compared to retail Call the Boys, which was rather ridiculous, it was kind of a push that button to win an engagement. But let's see. A lone tank buster out there on his own. I guess just primarily, he's just going to depend entirely on the tanks at this point. He's so requisition starved that he kind of can't afford to reinforce his tank busters, I suppose. So keeping just one out there and figuring 2 tanks should be enough to deal with this dreadnought. Cyris has to be waiting for the Paladin call-in. There's really no other option at this point with how much resources he's sitting on. So dual tanks now pouring shots into that brother captain. Not going to be able... Ooh! Let's see. Nope, unable to get the kill. There's the call-in. Dropping the stun on the tank and these Slugger boys and allowing the Paladins to get the kill here. I don't think, let's see, is that tank going to be able to escape? It's slowly escaping, ever so slowly, and not quite fast enough. Slugger boys now in there putting some hurt down. Shooters on the back line over here. But I don't think those sluggers are going to be enough to deal with those paladins, even with user choppas. Dreadnought putting a little pressure on the tank. Tank does have to fall back. Victory point is neutralized. And things are looking pretty tough for Tex right now. He does have yet another looted tank hitting the field here shortly. But these paladins are a pretty big threat. I guess with 2 tanks, that's exactly what you want to have. This is against paladins. I mean, the tank really only has to fear this, which they can kite around. He needs to pretty much keep those Struda boys near the tanks now, though, as he knows those operatives will be looking to get another stun down on one of those tanks. Those anti-vehicle grenades stun and slow the vehicle, so it's really difficult to keep those away from those big and nasty hammers. Oh no, this poor tank buster found himself on the wrong side of some paladins. Taking a big old thunder hammer to the face right there. But, oh man, was that the Purgation squad that just went down to the tanks? He wasn't quite paying attention. Really wanted that kill. Looks like the Dreadnought might go down here as well. But there's the grenade. Oh no, the grenade goes down. Dreadnought goes down, but this tank's in a lot of trouble. The Paladins are potentially in a bit of peril here as well. Did they already use their teleport? I don't think they did. So they will be able to get out of here, I believe. But another tank going down there, and that's exactly what I was saying. Oh no, the Sluggers fall as well. This is a brutal engagement for Tex. Tex now just with a single squad of shooters and a lone looted tank, which, I mean, all things considered, what's going to take this tank out right now? He has to be careful of these operatives, but they don't have the energy for another grenade, and they just used one anyways. So yeah, he's just going to start pouring shots into those Terminators. If he can just take out a model or 2 on those Terminators, it can be a much better... Oh no, the tank just keeps retargeting. But I guess recognizing he has to at least keep his natural victory point under control. Commandos coming onto the field now for Tex with only 50 points remaining though. 50 to 300, and things are looking pretty rough even just looking at the army tab right now. I guess Tex has just deemed that his warballs isn't worth bringing onto the field for the time being. Those looted tank blasts take out about a chunk off about half of the HP on a nice grouped up shot on those Imperial Stormtroopers. Let's see, Tex has precious little time to get these points captured. And we do have a Rhino coming onto the field, so I'm sure we'll see that upgraded with a las cannon. Tex just kind of lost a couple squads there at the end at really inopportune times. He lost both his Slugger squads. He lost one of those Shooter squads as well. I think if he had had both Sluggers up, he would have been able to kind of deal with this a lot better, but without the support of those 2 melee squads, things were pretty rough. He did take out all the gens over here, but Cyris still sitting on quite a bit of power. Those Paladins still back home getting healed up. They do have a pretty giant HP pool to replenish there, so it's definitely going to take them a while to do so. Yet another looted tank, the 4th looted tank coming onto the field for Tex. I mean, I don't think that's incorrect. He just has to keep them under control. Yeah, this time he's got the commandos around to spot those operatives. Not going to let those tanks get stunned again. He's lost 2. He's about to have 2 back on the field, but man, if he loses the points even for a moment at this stage, it's going to be really difficult to get back into this. 20 points is all he has left. Let's see if these operatives will go down. The tank turret pivoting, trying to get one more shot off. Oh, and whiffs, unfortunately, on the retreating squad. Las Rhino now on the field. The tank's injured, so it can't really contend with that. If that tank had full health, it would be no problem to take that thing out. But with a 2nd tank on the field, he can probably push up pretty easily. I think he just needs to play very aggressively right now. He knows the operatives are falling back. Brother Captain goes down. Now's his time to get back into this. He's got shooters on the back line, which I think he should just be sending to that victory point right now. He has to be wary of the Paladin teleport, but beyond that, there's nothing that can really deal with these tanks. Shooter Boy's now going for that point on the back line. I think, oh no, I think the Paladins can just tank through all this fire, though, and capture this point. He needs to take out that Rhino. It's actually surprisingly taking quite a few shots. I think one of those tanks was actually targeting the Paladins instead of the Rhino, which he should have been prioritizing. And now, Stormtroopers on the back line. The Shooter Boys did fall. Flash gets hit in the stage right now. But, oh man, and even blowing rocks to make sure that stays under control. The Rhino almost gets obliterated by that rock strike. And just, oh man, always just narrowly unable to kill a squad. I feel like Tex has kind of been on the wrong side of that a couple times. Narrowly letting squads escape and narrowly failing to kill his opponents. And here comes, oh man, there goes the grenade. Is that going to be enough to finish it off? Not quite, but it is low enough, and that will stop enough of the damage from going down. Vehicles trading right there. Las Rhino for looted tank, probably a pretty reasonable trade. Commandos coming in along with flash gets, but the point is about to change hands, and if he doesn't capture it within a few seconds here, there's going to be no chance of winning this game. 19 and ticking down. Flash gets trying to finish off at least one of these Paladin models. We are going to get a decap on the point, still buying time. The tenacious Tex, ever present in this game. Oh my gosh, 2 Paladins go down. Cyris actually finally starting to feel the wrong side of this requisition bleed. 208 to 11. And Tex holding on by just a thread here. Brother Captain looked like he just kind of wanted to try to cap under pressure, but going to be unable to do so against Flash Gits. Warboss finally getting picked up here, getting that heavy armor, which makes him nigh on impossible to kill unless you have some pretty serious focus fire. Oh no! Tex was so greedy and pushed that tank forward without any spotting units, lost it to the Inquisitorial operatives. That anti-vehicle grenade, I guess, does a lot more damage than I would have expected, but it did hit the rear armor. So that tank just slowly cruises to its own demise. 11 to 179. Operatives on the back line looking for a decap, probably on this natural point. The commandos are just slightly too far forward to spot them, I think. Tex getting a decap back here. Gonna be able to purchase another tank shortly? No, not really. A lone Flash Git now on the front lines. Oh man, even getting knocked over at the worst possible moment. Oh, but the Brother Captain and Paladins didn't pursue. They wanted to get on that Warboss. Operatives exchanging fire with Commandos. Commandos versus Operatives. I don't know who wins. Warboss finally falling back. Will he escape? I'm not sure he will. And now with just 2 infantry squads on the field, 1 heavily wounded, and a tank coming out here shortly. Paladins capturing the center point. Yeah, I don't think there's any way to get back into this. Tex struggled on the back foot for the majority of that game. Almost brought it back around, but unfortunately was just a little too aggressive with that last tank, I think, and lost it kind of recklessly here. I think he would have been all right hanging back. If he had that tank still on the field, what would Cyris be able to do against that, I feel like? It's not much. He would have been able to pressure with the Paladins, but he had the Warboss back on the field at this stage. I think he was unfortunately just a bit too aggressive there, and kind of gave Cyris the opportunity to close this out because there was so little anti-vehicle on the field. At least nothing that can deal with the tank. But Cyris drops the GG as the last tank comes on the field. A bit too little too late, unfortunately, after losing 4 tanks this match. And the win goes to Cyris with the Ordio Malleus. Man, what a match. I mean, Tex Tex was on the back foot for a lot of that, but there was a point when those two tanks came onto the field that he really had a chance to bring it back around, and it was an awesome play by Cyris getting those Inquisitorial operatives into position and eliminating that tank with the call-in of the Librarians. That was a really nice play. Good combo play there. And let's see, beyond that, I think the brother captains, yeah, he stayed vanilla right there. You can't even see him. He's just getting a blast in the face from one of those flash gets. But, whew. Good stuff indeed. What a destructive game. A lot of mayhem, a lot of orky fun. Anyways, that was it for me. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. I love hearing from you folks. Send me your replays. This is Red Rupee. I'll catch you guys